Hello, my name is Dylan Peterson. Today I will be talking to climate change expert Zach Allen, and he will be explaining 5 major impacts of climate change. Okay, so first we'll talk about rising global temperatures. What are the main causes that are making global temperatures rise?
Global temperatures are primarily rising due to increased concentrations of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. These gases trap heat in the atmosphere, preventing it from escaping into space. The main drivers of this are human activities, including burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial processes, which significantly increase the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.
What are some of the most striking trends in global temperature rise over the past centuries?
The most notable trend is the rapid increase in global temperatures, particularly since the mid 20th century. Average global temperatures have risen by about 1.2 degrees Celsius over the past 100 years, with the last few decades experiencing some of the warmest years on record. This warming trend is strongly linked to human activities and is leading to more frequent and intense heat waves, droughts, and extreme weather events, such as hurricanes.
What are the biggest obstacles to reducing global temperature rise?
The biggest obstacles include political resistance, especially in countries relying on fossil fuel industries, and the economic costs associated with transitioning to clean energy. There's also a lack of international cooperation, with some nations prioritizing short-term economic gains over long-term climate goals. Additionally, the global scale of the problem makes the coordinated action challenging, with the need for substantial investments in renewable energy, technology, and sustainable practices.
Okay, next up we'll be focusing on the effects of climate change to the ocean. What are the most significant changes scientists have observed in the ocean over the past few decades?
Over the past few decades, scientists have observed rising ocean temperatures, sea level rise due to melting ice sheets, and increasing acidification from higher concentrations of CO2. The warming oceans are also contributing to the melting of polar ice caps and glaciers, while ocean acidification is harming marine life, particularly shell-forming organisms like corals or mollusks.
What effects does ocean warming have on the marine ecosystems and biodiversity?
Ocean warming leads to coral bleaching, where corals expel the algae that give them color and nutrition, making them more vulnerable to disease and death. This disrupts entire marine ecosystems, as corals are vital habitats for many marine species. Additionally, warming oceans can lead to shifts in species distributions, with some species moving toward cooler waters, while others face risk of extinction.
Thirdly, how are coral reefs and other marine habitats adapting to climate change?
Coral reefs are struggling to adapt to climate change, with many experiencing widespread bleaching and degradation. Some species of coral may adapt to higher temperatures or more acidic waters, but this process is slow, and most coral reefs are at risk of disappearing. Other marine habitats like mangroves and seagrass beds are being impacted by sea level rise, but these ecosystems may be able to migrate to new areas if conditions allow.
Next up, we have how climate change is affecting extreme storms and weather changes. Have you observed the intensity and frequency of storms changing in the recent decades due to climate change?
There has been an observable increase in intensity and frequency of extreme weather events like hurricanes, cyclones, and heavy rainfall due to ocean rising temperatures and atmospheric moisture. These storms are becoming more powerful, with longer lasting effects and higher rainfall, leading to more widespread flooding and property damage. Additionally, the increased frequency of storms is putting pressure on emergency response systems and infrastructure.
Secondly, what specific factors are contributing to more extreme weather events like hurricanes, tornadoes, and thunderstorms?
Warmer ocean temperatures provide more moisture and energy to fuel storms, making them more intense. Rising atmospheric temperatures also increase the amount of water vapor in the air, which can lead to stronger and more efficient thunderstorms. Changes in weather patterns and jet streams are often influenced by global warming and can contribute to shifts in storm paths and increase their severity.
Okay, lastly on storms, how does climate change affect the distribution and behavior of storms, particularly in regions that don't typically experience extreme weather?
Climate change is shifting storm patterns, bringing more intense storms to regions that historically didn't experience them. For example, far areas from the tropics to such as parts of Europe or the U.S. Midwest may see more extreme rainfall or unusual weather patterns. As the atmosphere becomes more unstable due to rising temperatures, regions not accustomed to severe weather may face new threats, putting their populations and infrastructure at risk.
Okay, fourth, we have effects on the atmosphere. First, we have how is the increase in greenhouse gases like CO2 and methane directly impacting the composition and balance of the Earth's atmosphere?
Increased levels of greenhouse gases like CO2 and methane trap more heat in the Earth's atmosphere, enhancing the natural greenhouse effect. This disrupts the balance of the atmosphere by increasing global temperatures, which leads to shifts in weather patterns, melting ice, and rising sea level. Higher concentrations of methane, which is more potent than CO2, are accelerating these changes, particularly in areas like the Arctic, where permafrost is melting.
Secondly, how is the increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide impacting the Earth's energy balance and overall climate system?
The increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide disrupts the Earth's energy balance by trapping more heat in the atmosphere, leading to a warming effect known as the greenhouse effect. This extra heat disrupts climate patterns, contributing to global warming, melting ice, and shifting weather systems. As CO2 concentrations rise, the Earth's ability to radiate heat back into space is diminished, intensifying climate change and affecting ecosystems worldwide.
Lastly, what role does deforestation play in altering the atmosphere's ability to regulate temperature?
Deforestation contributes to climate change by releasing stored carbon dioxide when trees are cut down and burned. Trees also play a critical role in absorbing CO2, so when forests are destroyed, this vital carbon sink is lost. This further exacerbates the greenhouse effect, making it harder for the atmosphere to regulate temperature and stabilize the climate, which leads to increasing warming and climate instability.
Lastly, we have impact on ecosystems and biodiversity. First, we have how do you think climate change will affect food security in coming decades, particularly in regions that are already vulnerable to extreme weather events?
Climate change is expected to reduce agricultural productivity in vulnerable regions, especially those already prone to droughts, floods, and extreme heat. Rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns will affect crop yields, while more frequent extreme weather events will disrupt food production and supply chains. This will particularly affect developing countries that depend heavily on agriculture for both food and economic stability.
Second, we have what are some of the most innovative strategies or technologies being developed to mitigate climate change?
Strategies like carbon capture and storage, renewable energy innovations in solar, wind, and hydrogen, and geoengineering, like reflecting sunlight, are being explored to mitigate climate change. Advances in energy storage, electric vehicles, and sustainable agriculture also hold a big promise. While these technologies show potential, their large-scale implementation will require significant investment, regulatory support, and time to become truly effective in curbing emissions.
Last on today's podcast, we have what urgent actions are needed in the next 10 to 20 years to prevent irreversible damage to our ecosystems.
Immediate actions include drastically reducing greenhouse gas emissions, transitioning to renewable energy, and halting deforestation. Protecting existing ecosystems, restoring damaged ones, and implementing sustainable agriculture practices are also key to maintaining biodiversity. Without rapid and coordinated global efforts, we risk crossing tipping points that could lead to irreversible damage to ecosystems and the services that they provide.
Thank you, Zach, for coming on today's podcast.